This movie will focus on the concept of tab order. You should take care in the order that you place items on a form because that will determine the default tab order. That is, when you place a control on a form, the order in which you place it on the form has an effect on the order of the tab index. Let me demonstrate. If I place a button on the form, followed by a second button, followed by a third button, the order in which I just placed those objects on the form is determining their tab index. For example, if I focus on button 1, that has a tab index of 0. Tab index of 0 is the lowest tab index that can be placed on an object on a form. That is, when the project will execute, it will look for the object that has the tab index of 0 to start the focus. Then it will look at the next object which has the next highest tab index, or in this case, tab index of 1, which is associated with button 2. And of course, button 3 has the next tab index, which is tab index of 2. So as I run this project, and you notice that by default the focus is on button 1, I'm now using the tab key, and the focus is now on button 2, and then button 3, and then it starts back over to button 1, button 2, button 3, and so forth. If I now introduce another button into the mix by inserting it in between button 1 and 2, now I have a button 4 in between button 1 and 2. However, since this was the fourth item I placed on the form, and button 3 was the previously last item placed on the form, which had a tab index of 2, button 4 now has a tab index of 3. So even though the order on the form would indicate that the focus would move from button 1 to button 4 to button 2 to button 3, that's not how it will occur. Allow me to demonstrate. Again, the project is running. I press the tab key and it jumps from button 1 to button 2. Press tab again, the focus jumps to button 3. Press tab one more time, the focus now is on button 4 because that is following the next tab index. Then when I press the tab key again, it goes back to button 1 followed by button 2. Again, button 4 is skipped over. The physical placement on the form is not the key here. The key here is the tab index. So if you create a project such as this and you wanted to correct the tab order, by that I mean you wanted the user to be able to tab in the physical order, you could simply change the tab index. Button 1 is fine because that has a tab index of 0, that's where we want to start. However, button 4 should have a tab index of 1 now. So you simply go to the tab index and change that to a number 1. Button 2 should then have a tab index of 2. Again, following in order 0, 1, 2. And then finally button 3 should have a tab index of 3. So now when we run this project, the focus should follow physically as well as logically. So when I tab, it jumps from the next button just as you designed it to. So as you're developing and designing projects, keep in mind that you can, number one, you can place items on the form in the order in which you want their tab index to appear. On the other hand, oftentimes you modify an existing program and you have to alter the tab index. So that is the other alternative, to go back and alter the tab indexes so that they agree with the physical order of the form itself.